Thank you, Ida. Thank you, Pastor Andy. I would like to now open the stage to our U.S. Congressman who stands up every day up in D.C. facing some very tough challenges, and I'd like to welcome Congressman Charlie Crist to the stage. Thank you.
Thank you very much. What happened this week in El Paso and Dayton is nothing short of horrifying. I was struck by the story of Jordan and Andre Ochanda, a young couple who died protecting their infant son in El Paso, Texas. Their bravery and strength is unparalleled. It breaks all of our hearts that this child for whom they sacrificed everything must now grow up without his parents. Their stories are only 2 of the 31 lives we lost this past week, all of them devastating. Our country has lost grandparents, veterans, parents, children, and the communities they were part of will never be the same. It's hard to understand what could bring someone to commit such incredible violence. But one thing is clear. These men were motivated by hate. The vile and disgusting comments posted by the shooter in El Paso are an indication of the growing forces of xenophobia and racism in our country. And this weekend, those forces had deadly consequences for far too many. My heart, thoughts, and prayers go out to all the families, first responders, and everyone in these communities reeling with pain, grief, and anger. But I know, and you know, that's not enough. We are well past the point that emotional support is still all we offer. We can and must, yes, take action. Because while euphoric, it's no longer okay to pretend that it's unimaginable. We have to imagine it far too many times already. It's no longer okay to pretend there are no ways to prevent mass casualties. We can and must ban weapons of war. We can and we must take action. Because while horrific, it's no longer okay to pretend that these things are just going to happen. It's an honor and privilege to be with you here tonight. All Americans, all people of the world, suffer this evening as we do at this vigil. But God bless all of you for being here. Thank you for encouraging action. I guarantee you that will happen. God bless you all.
Thank you, Congressman. And next up, I would like to welcome Mayor Rick Reisman to the stage. Thank you, Mayor.
First off, let me say thank you to Congressman Crist for being our bright light in our nation's capital. Yeah. Thank you for your friendship, Charlie. I also would like to thank my colleague, Mayor Jane Castor, for coming across the bay to be with us tonight. We mayors stand against gun violence. So good evening, St. Pete. And at least for now, it is a good evening here in St. Pete, if not in Dayton or El Paso or so many other places being plagued by gun violence and mass shootings. I say for now because we just don't know who is next. And that is a scary feeling. It is especially scary when the people in power in Washington and Tallahassee have little or no desire to correct this course that we're on. We may feel helpless, but I can assure you we are not. Look around. Look around this beautiful city, our state, our nation. I still believe there are enough of us to bring about positive, lasting change on this issue. We may need to fight harder, and we may need to speak louder. We may need to vote in bigger numbers, but we can do this. We can do it for the fallen in Dayton and in El Paso. We can do it on behalf of every other community that has been subjected to this evil. Evil acts made easy thanks in part to America's lack of common sense gun laws. Why must our elected leaders in Washington and Tallahassee make it so easy for people to kill? Now, I understand this is a vigil, and I understand this is a time for mourning. But it's impossible to wait 24 hours before talking about the politics of this issue if a mass shooting occurs every 24 hours. It's impossible. And so, let's not just reflect on the lives lost, for that would be a disservice to them and their families. Let's re-energize and mobilize, and let's work to make America the land of the free again. Because until we're not in fear, we'll never be again free. Thank you all so much.
And now I would also like to welcome Mayor Castor from Tampa all the way over on this side of the bridge. Thank you, Mayor Castor.
Good evening, good evening. I would like to thank Mayor Kreisman for being so welcoming and also for being such a good partner as a local mayor, because it appears that we're going to leave it up to the mayors to get things done when it comes to firearms, without a doubt. And I thank you to Congressman Chris and to our state representative Ben Diamond for being out here this evening and being those voices, sometimes a lone voice, in D.C. and in Tallahassee for those of us here. I think a lot of you know that I was in the police department for 31 years, so I have seen way too much violence. Too much violence for an entire lifetime. I have seen what happens when a child is shot with a high-powered automatic rifle. I have seen the destruction that has been caused. And every time we have one of these shootings, everyone comes together and we grieve, and then we shout and we scream about the changes that we're going to make, and then we go right back to our daily lives the next day with nothing happening. We have got to change this. It's got to change with stopping the NRA from keeping local jurisdictions from passing any legislation, any ordinances that have to do with firearms or ammunition. We have got to take that right back. We have got to have it on the local level. The majority of citizens are for banning assault rifles. The majority of Florida residents are for banning assault rifles. The majority of our citizens are for comprehensive background checks and sharing that information among all of the jurisdictions. And why is it not being done? Year after year, it is not being done. We have got to change that. I thought I had hope in my heart, and I still do, after the shooting at Marjorie Stoneman Douglas High School, that what the adults couldn't do, the young kids were going to be able to do. In the March for Our Lives, I felt such confidence that they were going to be able to change the world, and I still do. I think when they're coupled with moms demanding action, who I fully support and are out there every day fighting, and when we're together with all of the citizens as well, this park should be overflowing. The St. Pete Police Department should have had to close down every single road around here to fit the citizens in here. You know, when we had the shooting at Sandy Hook, the next day the entire country got to see that horrific scene. 20 young children killed by a high-powered rifle, and 6 of their teachers died trying to protect them. We said that day, as a nation, we said no more. Between that day in December 14th of 2012, we have had 2,180 deaths leading up to the Pulse nightclub shooting in Orlando. That has got to stop. I want to live in a city, I want to live in a state where everyone is judged by their character rather than the color of their skin, that no one loses their life because of the God that they pray to, and that it doesn't matter who you loved as much as that you love and that you are loved. So, Tampa Bay, let's tell the world that hate does not have a home here. God bless.
That's amazing. I'm just really glad to see us working on both sides of the bay. If we can work on both sides of the bay, we can work across the aisle to find sensible gun reform. I would like to welcome to the stage now Senator Rousson's wife, Mrs. Rousson, would like to join us this evening reading a statement on his behalf. We also have Representative Ben Diamond and Pinellas County School Board Chair Renee Flowers. And I would just like to welcome everybody. Come on up. Come on up. So introducing Mrs. Rousson this evening. Thank you so much for being here on behalf of Senator Rousson. Welcome.
I'm pleased to share this statement on behalf of Senator Darrell Rousson. It has been time for us as a united nation against senseless violence to do more to stop it. Banning assault weapons that can only be used in mass taking of life is but one start. The mental health of people is another paramount concern. The stoking of hatred by influential persons is despicable and has proven dangerous. The President of the United States must use his words to bring unity, not preach divisive political words. Words are weapons. Good-willed people must speak love, unity, and create solutions. Please, America, we are a nation of immigrants. Haven't we hit bottom yet? How much more will be required before we decisively act? You can count on Senator Rousson to file legislation mirroring the federal assault ban under Bill Clinton, getting rid of assault rifles and high-capacity magazines.
Thank you so much. That was amazing. And welcome Representative Ben Diamond. Thank you so much for joining us this evening.
Good evening. I'll be brief because a lot of what I want us to have say has already been said. I was standing back there listening to the very courageous and important speeches you've already heard, and looking at the banner behind me, Honor with Action, and that picture of the children playing. And I remembered that I've seen that banner before. That banner was hung in our state capitol in Tallahassee after the Parkland shooting. And I remember thinking to myself, I hope I never have to see that banner again, and here we are. It doesn't have to be this way, folks. We can bring the type of political change to our state and our nation by coming together in moments like this and demanding it. And I appreciate the leadership of our Congressman Charlie Crist, our mayors, my partner in Tallahassee, Senator Rousson, who believe there is a better way to protect our families and believe that we can bring the change that this country so desperately needs. Thank you all for being here tonight.
Thank you, Representative Diamond. And now introducing Pinellas County School Board Chair Renee Flowers.
So, as I sat and listened to everyone give their heartfelt speeches and certainly their condolences and a call to action, I couldn't help but draw this picture in my mind of the President of the United States attending a wedding after he had already gotten word that someone entered a club in Dayton, Ohio, and shot and killed a number of people injured. He even killed his own sister. And then he couldn't hang around for
his own sentencing, so he killed himself. I also began to draw into my mind a picture of a husband and a wife in Walmart holding their infant child, the mother covering that infant child while her husband covered her. He and her lost their lives, saving the lives of their child, while our president gave a speech about hatred and degradation to people who don't look like him. And I began to think about all of the things that individuals say that he really doesn't mean what he says. But when you stand in front of a crowd of a group of individuals and you say, I am a nationalist, you're telling us who you are. We need to believe who you are. You are a nationalist. When I began to think about the fact that even here in Pinellas County, we have to have officers in every school to guard your children. So you're willing to give me money to put guns on people's bodies, but you're not willing to go to the bat and make sure that people don't carry assault weapons that are used in wars. Something is wrong with that picture. Yeah. And then you want to use these children's name in a database to identify them. Well, we all know what that is. It's painting black and brown children irrespectively. You're willing to do that, but you're not willing to take up true legislation to make sure that we're protected and that we are safe in our communities. Something is wrong with that. Yeah. And on top of all of that, unfortunately, this will happen again unless we do what we need to do at the ballot box and vote out every single person who will not vote for sensible gun reform, who will not make sure that automatic weapons are taken out of the hands of people, who will not make sure that weapons that are used in war are not used against us in our own communities. You can do it. 2020 is around the corner, but it starts today. You can do it. And I don't care if it's a legislature that you like or a legislator that you love and you voted for. If they don't want to do the right thing, you do the right thing and you vote them out.
One more round of applause. Thank you so much. Speaking of voting them out, if you need to register to vote, we have people walking around with clipboards registering voters here tonight or at the back table. Please be current on your voter registration. And I'd also like to welcome Emily Hansel from March for Our Lives, as well as Kelly Moore from Moms Demand Action. Thank you.
My name is Kelly Moore. I'm a volunteer with Moms Demand Action for Gun Sense in America. We were founded in 2012 after the mass shooting at Sandy Hook Elementary. And I bring that up because in the last 2 days, I've heard a lot of people using the line that we as a country lost the gun reform debate when nothing happened after a classroom full of elementary school babies was shot and killed. But really, that story is not true, and it's defeatist. So much started on that day in Connecticut. Things have happened. Progress has been made. Florida enacted a red flag law last year. We raised the age of purchase for long guns. Voters here in this state are working to put an assault weapon ban on the ballot in 2020. We elected a gun sense majority to the House of Representatives in 2018. That same House of Representatives, including Representative Christ, just passed universal background checks. The first gun safety bill to pass either chamber of Congress in over 25 years. Gun safety is a major policy platform for almost all of the Democratic presidential candidates, and we have 5 elected officials and the wife of an elected official on this stage, which is not a thing that would have happened 10 years ago. So it is not nothing. But it is not enough. Because 29 people died this weekend in mass shootings in El Paso and Dayton, and 3 people died and 37 people were injured by guns in Chicago this weekend, and a 1-month-old baby was killed in a drive-by shooting in Shreveport, and those are just a fraction of the 100 people who die every single day from gun violence. So everything that we've changed so far, it's not enough. I understand how you probably feel tonight. Sad, scared, hopeless, traumatized, empty, defeated, powerless. I'm sad too. I'm scared always when I take my kids to public places. I'm shattered for my friends and loved ones who have lost people dear to them to gun violence and who flinch every time something like this weekend happens. But I'm not defeated. I'm not hopeless. And I'm not powerless, because I'm fighting against this with all I have. So how do we get real meaningful change? It takes people, lots of people, lots more people than we have fighting this fight now. It's going to take all the people that show up at the vigils, to show up at senators' offices, to show up at voters' doors, to show up in gun violence-affected neighborhoods to learn, listen, and support, to show up in state houses and committee meetings and rallies and die-ins and protests and at the voting booth. In short, this vigil cannot be the last thing you do. It has to be the first. So what do? You show up again and again. Come to the sit-in happening at Marco Rubio's office on Friday. Come to the rally for Senate Action in Orlando next Saturday. Come to a new volunteer orientation for Moms Demand Action on August 28th. Call your senators. Tell them you see them cowering in fear, hiding behind their stacks of NRA money. Tell them that every day they sit on the House's background check bill, blood is on their hands. Tell them that you see them on vacation, refusing to go to work, while 3 kids in El Paso lost both of their parents in minutes. Let them know that you see how much they value your life, your safety, your security, your liberty. And let them know that you vote. That's right. So what do? Do something. Do anything. Because honoring our dead, our scores and scores and scores and scores of dead, has to be done with action. Not with words, not with tears, and certainly not with thoughts and prayers. This is not the time to stop. It is the time to start. So let today be the day that you really, really, truly say enough.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Emily Hansel, and I am a member of We the Students and March for Our Lives St. Petersburg. I'm 18 years old and just graduated high school out of a Pinellas County school. In 1999, the year before I was born, Columbine happened. 12 students murdered and nothing was done. I had just turned 12 when kids younger than me were massacred at Sandy Hook. 20 dead children. Congress had minimal reaction. The summer before my freshman year of high school, 49 nightclub goers were killed only 2 hours away at Pulse in Orlando. All of our politicians offered were just thoughts and prayers. My generation has grown up with news story after news story, shooting after shooting. We're scared to go to school where active shooter drills are a constant reminder of the threat to our lives, even in our classrooms. We're scared to go to the movies, to concerts, to church, to down the street, and to Walmart to prepare for the upcoming school year. Not to mention that communities of color, where the threat of gun violence is even more prevalent, have been around a lot longer, but never covered to the extent of shootings that are in predominantly white communities. At 17 years old, when Parkland happened, myself and thousands of other teenagers across this nation stood up and said enough was enough. Politicians have failed my generation. They failed the children that were killed in El Paso. They failed the young men and women that were killed in the bar in Dayton. They failed the 30 people shot in Chicago this weekend. And they failed the 97 victims of gun violence that happen every day across America. If our leaders won't take action, we will. Turn your outrage and anger into action. Get involved in your community. If you're an adult, join groups like Moms Demand Action. If you're a student like me, join We the Students, join March for Our Lives. There's plenty of gun violence organizations that will welcome you with open arms. Let's all work tirelessly to elect gun violence candidates next November. And if our politicians won't save us, we'll save ourselves. Thank you so much.
Tomorrow morning, 10:30 to 11:30, outside Rubio and Scott's offices. It's there. We're there every Tuesday.
So we're going to thank everyone for coming this evening. I want to thank all of our partners. We have Indivisible.
We have Indivisible Action Florida 13. We have Moms Demand Action. We have Allendale Church, SEIU Florida Public Service Union, SEIU 1199 in the house. We want to thank all of our partnering organization, grassroots organization, and not last but not least, obviously, our elected officials coming here tonight. And to close off this night's vigil, we would like to invite all of our elected officials and the clergy to please join us up on the stage for a moment of silence. And if you can also join us in a moment of silence tonight. Thank you.
And also thank all of you for being here, and please continue to join us.